Hello, everybody, and welcome to Falcons UK podcast. You may not be our usual hosts this week. They are unfortunately they've had to section themselves after the very dramatic that we've all had as Falcons fans. So when we get word that Danny and Carl have been released from their asylum, we will obviously let you know. So this week we've got to be hosted by myself and Liam. I've got Nico over in Germany, and
Hi, guys.
Got some other regulars of Rob and Christian, who yes, has changed his name slightly. Right. So as we all know, I'm sure you haven't missed it, guys. We've had quite an eventful week. So we've lost our long-standing legend, franchise legend, possibly the best Falcon that's ever been part of the franchise, in Matt Ryan to the Colts. And I thought I'd get a few of our regular guys on to vent their spleen and do a little bit of group therapy. So, Liam, do you want to start?
Yeah, I mean it's a tough one. I think I suppose there's two ways of looking at it, isn't there? I think possibly the right thing has maybe happened potentially, but in the sort of the wrong way. I don't think anybody in terms of I don't think anybody really expected Ryan to play for anybody else, but obviously there was a chance that he would go with the situation with his contracts and everything. But I don't really obviously I don't think anybody at all can be happy with the way it sort of happened. It feels like we've just ousted him, and he's not the type of guy to have throw a paddy and do this sort of thing. I can't imagine it sort of went down like that, but he obviously knew as soon as we put our eggs in the Watson basket, it was a case of we clearly were looking to move on from him, and then as soon as that fell through, there was just no chance he was going to stay. How do you turn back from that? We tried to get rid of, we failed. I mean, it was just embarrassing, wasn't it? At the end, so it's disappointing to lose him. I think he's obviously he's getting on a bit, and he's not quite the same quarterback that he was. He's still very serviceable and still would have definitely done the job. And I still think he has the quality to would have had the quality to take us far if the team around him was good enough. But I think with the situation we're in overall, especially with wide receiver position, the team around him at the moment is not good enough for him to. He can't carry us all that way with what he's got. He's throwing to virtually nobody as it stands. So I think we just had to move on and start the rebuild, and that was the big move in terms of the Falcons rebuild. Obviously, Julio went, which was part of it, but that was a slightly different situation. But now Matt's got that's pretty much rebuild begin, isn't it? Your long-standing quarterback's gone. It's all systems going now to turn it all around and build back up.
So I've got a question. Now I've had abuse this week because I don't appear to be as broken-hearted as everyone else. And I want to kind of point out I am gutted. He's gone, but I've got a question I'd like to ask you, right? So, and I'd like Nico, Rob, Christian, I'd like you to consider this when we come to your turn in group therapy. But if we hadn't have gone for Watson, which I didn't agree with, by the way, although he's a top 5 quarterback, no doubt, right? But we all know what's going on with that, right? If the Watson approach hadn't happened, I'd like to propose that Indianapolis would never have come in. And the trade for Matt would never have happened. And therefore, the rebuild wouldn't have started. And therefore, actually, what we're saying is, we'll keep Matt for the next 2 years. We won't give him a chance to win. And we'll put him in front of that turnstile O-line for the next 2 years. unless it shockingly magically gets better. So I suppose what I'm trying to say is that it might have made people less emotional this week, but is that the right thing?
I mean, I don't think the Colts would have come in. I don't think anybody would have really assumed that he was available without sort of the whole thing happening. But I mean, I think keeping him would have. I think he would have done his job as he's been doing for years. Maybe not quite the same level, but he still would have been. I don't think his numbers would have dropped off a cliff or anything. But we just aren't good enough as a team to do anything with him or with anybody for that matter. I don't think anybody can really quite carry us where we need to be just by being a great quarterback. I don't think even if Watson came in, we might have improved maybe, but I don't think we would have been a good team still because there's just not enough around him. We'd have had to make some big changes on both sides of the ball out of nowhere with virtually no money. So I just can't see how that would have even happened. So I think having some, obviously we've got the issue with the dead cap and things still, but we need to get back to where we've got some cheaper rookie years on a quarterback at some point. Obviously it might not be this year, it could be next year, but the rookie quarterback is obviously the main way of gaining excess cap when you're not paying somebody the fortunes that they end up getting paid at quarterback position. So I think that's the only way we're ever going to actually build a team. But then obviously you are still relying on that quarterback eventually getting to the point where he is really good. If he never becomes that quarterback, you're still in the same position as you've always been. So I do agree that I don't think the Colts would have come in, and I don't know how much better it would have been. I just think it would have been a case of it would have been nice to sort of see obviously end his contract and go out in more Matt Ryan fashion than basically be binned off, which is what we've done to him.
Okay. Nico, I will come to you. Okay. Thank you for sharing that, Liam.
What?
You don't agree, do you?
Let me start with my thoughts to Matt Ryan, to this sad end right now. I watched a Falcons game in 2015. It was one of the first games of American football I've watched so far at this point. And it was Falcons against Panthers in Carolina. And Matt Ryan, Julio Jones destroyed the Panthers completely. I know the Panthers from their Super Bowl before. And then there was this amazing team, this amazing players that played so well. And that made me very exciting about what happened on the sports field. With a lot of touchdowns and great plays. And from this moment on, I said, I don't have a favorite team yet, but this is going to be it. The logo looks fucking nice. The jerseys are amazing. So that's the reason I'm wearing the red one right now. And also from this moment on, I was a fan of the sport and of Matt Ryan. So he's the reason why I start watching football when it become a big thing in Germany. And I would end it now. It's one of the saddest days in my life as a sports fan, because I know I've learned a lot about football and about our story and about his story, and he's the greatest Falcon of all time, no doubt about this. And what he's done for this team, he is the soul of this team. He still is. He's not with us anymore in Atlanta, but he still is some way the soul. And now to the question with the Colts trading for him and the Watson story. I don't want to lose any word to the person of Deshaun Watson right now. But maybe if our suddenly appeared offense to the trade for Watson would not happen that big, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe we would have met for at least one more year. I can maybe think of he is not happy, or he was not happy with the current situation in Atlanta. No wide receivers, still no O-line, and not a good view to the future over the next years. And he wants a ring, and he deserves a ring. And maybe we got him for one more year, because our situation now is very difficult, I guess. And also maybe if the Colts definitely would have wanted him at that point, where no one knows we also want Watson,
Sure.
the pick would have been higher that we get for him. And also, I guess Matt Ryan was not happy at this moment. I don't know the intern talkings, but what Mr. Blank always said about him, about what he means for the team, and how the Falcons work out this whole topic in public. It was just frustrating and terrible to see as a Falcons fan how they dealt with the soul of the team for the last 14 years.
So
I guess this is my opinion.
No, 100%. I think it's valid, and I think I'm happy for anyone to kind of jump in on this. But I don't think anybody would. I don't think any of us here would have said we would have been unhappy with Matt staying until the end of his contract, until the end of next year. I think there's a point, I think, where we kind of have to admit that there were games last year, and this is the first time I can really put my hand on my heart and say this. There were games last year where I'm not saying the team were great, because they weren't, not by a long shot, but there were games last year where Matt played bad, and I do find myself going, is age catching up with him a little bit, which is understandable. I mean, the dude's 36. I mean, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying he was awful. He wasn't, because he still put up nearly 4,000 yards. But I do think that at this time, and like I say, I don't think I'm necessarily speaking out of turn, but and any of you guys are welcome to tell me I'm wrong. Is if that arm is depreciating and Father Time is starting to take hold, as we've seen with loads of other aging quarterbacks, Drew Brees, we took the piss out of him for it. Phil Rivers, they all kind of succumb to their age. If we kept them on for another year and that got worse, is this not kind of the time to remember him for how good he's been, rather than to see him go out in a fireball rather than a blaze of glory?
Mark, I'm pretty sure because he's way younger than all the other quarterbacks you named and way more healthier at this point in his career, I'm pretty sure he will ball out with the Colts. I'm pretty sure it's not done yet, and I wish all the best for him.
Yeah, and I think we all do. I think I'm certain. Like I say, I'm kind of offering a bit of a separate viewpoint, but I don't think he's not going to ball out, because he will have protection and he'll have the time that he's deserved over the past.
He will have a shot. He will have a shot there.
We appear to be joined by Miles as well. Miles, I didn't realize you were joining. Hello.
What's going on, fellas? It's been a minute. Yeah, sorry for coming on late. I just was covering an event here, so glad I extended the end.
No problem. Well, we're just doing a little bit of group therapy after the busy couple of days that we've had. Nico, is there anything you wanted to add?
I guess that's all. I'm just happy I could see Matt play in London. It was a live dream coming true. I'm happy to see him throwing for 2 touchdowns, one for Kyle Pitts, one for Hayden Hurst, and also surpassing Eli Manning with most completions, or getting a spot higher in the list. It was a fantastic day, fantastic moment. I will forever hold in my heart. Thanks for this. That's all.
Thanks, Nico. Miles, do we have you for long, or have you got to shoot off shortly?
Yeah, no, I'm going to be in the car here for about an hour, so I got you.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, I'm just going to come on to Christian next, so we'll get to you very, very shortly. Sure. Christian, long time no see. How are you feeling?
Not too bad. Yourself?
Living the dream. Talk to me. How are you feeling?
It feels weird because I believe they made the right call in trading Matt because this franchise is going nowhere next year. He deserves the chance to win a Super Bowl. So on that note, I believe it was right to trade him. And to a team like Indianapolis, he's gone from Jalen Mayfield at left guard for the Falcons to Quentin Nelson. That has got to be the biggest upgrade in history. So he's going to be well protected. Jonathan Taylor is better than any weapon the Falcons have on offense. Michael Pittman is better than any of the Falcons wide receivers from last year, even including Calvin Ridley. So he's got massive upgrades there. But though I have got a problem with the way it was handled by the franchise.
Yeah.
They pursued a quarterback whose record is, let's say, off-field record is dubious. I'm not going to go into the specifics
alleged.
Because
we have to say alleged.
Yeah.
Don't get the channel in trouble, please. It's mine and Liam's first time. Please don't get us in any trouble. Just clarify. It's alleged. Carry on with what you were talking about allegedly, please, Christian.
But anyway, that divided the fan base for starters because a lot of fans didn't want him, and there was some who did want him. So after not getting him, those fans were annoyed at the Falcons for not getting him, and those who didn't want him are annoyed for the fact they actually entertained the idea.
But is that not Falcons fan base normality, Shirley, Christian? Like, I get what you're saying, I do, but I've given up arguing with people on Twitter. I mean, ironically, most of the people I was arguing with was about Matt Ryan, so at least I don't have that to contend with anymore. But is that something that's entirely different? These people, the people who wanted Watson were ironically the people who've probably been screaming to trade Matt for years. I mean, I think I get what you're saying, I do, but yeah.
But they should have expected what was going to come back when it was announced they were trying to trade for him, and it was always going to piss a lot of people off.
It was a bad gamble. I'll give you that.
Yeah, and once they fucks up, they had absolutely no leverage because, like Liam said, Matt never throws his toys out the pram. He's being a consummate professional on and off the field.
Yeah,
he's always done his bit for the city. He's always done his bit for the franchise in taking restructures. So as soon as that came out, Cleveland got him. Your hands were tied. You had to either pay him or trade him. And as you rightfully said, if you paid him, it would set the franchise back a few years in terms of having a lack of cap space. So it was the right call in trading him, but it was just the way it was handled for me.
Yeah, and I think my point around the cap is, even with Matt on the books next year, it kind of, I think for me, it delays that rebuild a little bit further. And like I say, he's going to be 1 year older again. And I think I hope, I imagine I do, I presume, I speak for everyone, where we all want him to get that ring that he deserves. And even with, bundles of cap room next year, I think it's fair to say that, it really, it would be putting him in a very, very difficult position again to do that. And as you have rightfully pointed out, he's got a lot better weapons in Indy. So, I think it's fair to say that, most of us on the right thinking side of things in the Falcons fan base, wish him nothing but luck. And, I'm certainly going to be keeping a hold of this number 2 jersey forevermore, and I'll be wearing it hopefully at the Super Bowl to watch him at least get that ring he deserves.
The big question is what happens to the rest of the roster now, because obviously AJ Terrell, Chris Lindstrom, and Kyle Pitts are probably untouchable. What about the likes of Brady Jarrett, Deion Jones? Are they going to be ships out like Miami did with their players in 2019?
Yeah, I think that's going to be interesting and something I'd like to come on to in a little while, because I'd like us to talk about what the free agency signings are so far and what we think of them. Because I think there's actually some quite interesting ones. So, we'll definitely come back to that. Cool. Right, just in the interest of time, Rob, can I move on to you quick?
Yeah, don't want to sound like a broken record or anything, but agree with what Liam and Christian have said. For me, the biggest part of this is how it's been handled by the organisation, and I think it's just horrific, really. I think our roster we all know our roster is terrible going into this year, and we were going to be pretty poor in 2022, irrespective of who was at quarterback. We've got so many holes across our roster that, for me, it made no sense to go out there and give up so much capital for quarterback when he's not going to have much of a running game. He's got no one to throw to. He's not got an offensive line to protect him. You could have literally whoever you wanted at quarterback, but with the rest of the Falcons roster at present, they weren't going to have a lot to work with. So to go away and give up so much capital for somebody, seemed sort of counterproductive, because you might be getting a top 5 QB, but you're going to lose the capital to allow you to rebuild the rest of your roster. I think the second part of it is the alleged claims against him.
Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Yeah.
Which obviously horrifies me and probably everybody else in here, and a lot of people that didn't want him. And for me, somebody that's got that hanging over them, whether it's true, whether it's not, doesn't have a place for me.
And I think I 100% agree about that and the alleged stuff that's been going on. I think my own, and again, I'm playing devil's advocate, right? As I've already stated, I wasn't for the Watson thing, but I suppose you could say, well, yeah, but you go after him now when you cement. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to even take the argument. Regardless of what's happening off the field, he's a top 5 quarterback.
Yeah.
So you could say that, that longevity piece, that's your next franchise quarterback. Unfortunately,
I get that. We're talking longer term there. If we were to give up 3 first-round picks plus extras with the state of our roster at the moment, it seemed very counterproductive from a, should we say, short to medium term. And I felt like there were better ways.
You still won't have that cap space anyway. Sorry to interrupt, Rob. You still won't have that cap space anyway, so it'd set the team back more than trading Matt does now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because you can't spend money on free agents. You have no draft picks to improve the team, so you're in limbo.
Yeah.
So actually, is there a conspiracy? Is there a little bit of a conspiracy theory? Do we? And I mentioned this at the beginning before we went in, but there's a part of me that goes, instigate something which makes Matt, which puts Matt on the market. Don't get me wrong. I'm just theorizing here. But you do that, suddenly Matt Ryan goes on the market, and then suddenly your rebuild's on.
Yeah, but I think a good question is, did we? I think, like Nico said, did we make him cheaper by doing that, though, in terms of teams?
Well, there was only ever one team, wasn't there, Liam? There was only we've all known the Colts is realistically the only team.
Yeah, I mean, have they sort of, if they were going to offer without the whole Watson thing, would they maybe given slightly more, and have they sort of gone, well, now the whole Watson thing's happened, let's try our luck with this?
Well, we were never going to get a first for a 30.
No, we're never going to get that high. Could we have got a second, or could we got an additional pick, something like maybe? But maybe they've just tried the luck, thinking this guy's got to leave. He's like, there's no way for him to stay. Let's just take a
Yeah, I think after the whole Watson thing unravelled, we lost all our leverage. We didn't hold any of the cards anymore. Ryan had sat there and seen what had started to unravel with Watson in front of him, and probably thought, maybe it is better that I have a clear start, fresh start somewhere, and that might cement that in his mind. And at that point, we lost any leverage that we ever had. So I don't think personally at that stage is a disaster, especially when you look at like a cap space position moving forward from 2023.
Before that, we didn't have much leverage because Terry refused to commit to him earlier in the off-season. Will Matt Ryan be the quarterback in 2022? Not sure. That's what it basically was. So even at that point, we didn't have a great deal of leverage.
Listen, see, this is where I keep kind of coming to a brick wall, though. Like, he's been a legend. He has. I love the man. I don't deny it. But the way that everyone's talking right now, it's like, well, leverage this and like the guy's untouchable. If Terry didn't want him, he's the GM. We might not agree with it, but is that
if you
really?
If you don't want somebody, you can still have leverage in getting rid of them to another team.
But how much leverage is a 34-year-old quarterback going to get you?
It's 37, actually. That probably makes it worse. But
I think we would have had slightly more leverage in the sense that we could have kept him, or we could have got the right offer. Like it was like kind of, but with the way it ended up, I think it was a case of he cannot stay, which probably I don't think we had wars of leverage with the whole situation with an aging quarterback and the money, and you never have that much. Like
I'd like to.
It's like look at how many white players got traded for less than that. When you look at Hopkins, for example, and like what he brought was like virtually nothing, but that was because he just wanted out and management. But then if you get somebody that does want to sort of stay and you're still sort of open to trade him because of other situations, and you can get a lot for them. So I don't think we're never going to get awards for the guy, but I do think the Colts took a punt and just got him for maybe a little bit cheaper than they would have expected to.
Yes. I want to add something to this point, just very short. The Colts really got a huge win in this trade. They got a healthy quarterback that's very approved quarterback for only a third-round pick. I'm pretty sure Matt Ryan will help them a lot.
And they got rid of Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
And another thing, our front office needs to deal with the mistakes our last front office did over the past years. A very, very lot of mistakes, heavy mistakes, including the heavy deals for Ryan. Yeah.
Cool. So we're going to go to probably someone who's a little bit more in the know than opinionated Europeans over here. Miles, what's your take?
Yeah, guys. Yeah, I mean, it's probably going to be a lot of what you guys have said already as well. But as far as what all went down, I think you guys have sort of hit it right on the head in that this was botched by the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, we talk about leverage and all that. I'm a firm believer that before the Deshaun Watson, I guess, the criminal part, before he was announced innocent of that, alleged, excuse me. There we go.
Thank you.
The alleged, the case there where it was innocent on the criminal charges, at least. I know he still has pending civil cases, but for the criminal stuff, I think before that, I don't think Deshaun Watson was on this team's radar. And I think that was proven because Watson supposedly was the one who called the Falcons. It wasn't the other way around. I don't think the Falcons even thought they were in the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes. So when we talk about leverage, I really do think that, before that, they were going into this season with Matt Ryan at quarterback. All their statements proved that was what they were thinking. But then when they decided to go all in on Deshaun Watson, I don't think there's any denying that it was rubbing Matt the wrong way. I mean, in his press conference today, you could kind of hear his voice sort of crack just a hair when he talked about, you hear things and, not everything you like. And I'm like, wow, for Matt Ryan, that's like him cussing out the franchise, as professional as he is. I think that was very telling in that, he probably didn't like that. And again, as you said at that point, let's throw out a hypothetical. I think if the Falcons were going into this offseason saying they wanted to trade Matt Ryan, I think the return for him would have been a hell of a lot better. You see a lot of quarterback needy teams out there every season. I mean, of course, the Broncos went out to get Russell Wilson. We saw what Cleveland did to get Deshaun Watson. We've seen stuff in the past like that for guys, even Carson Wentz last year with the Colts. So I think, if that was the case, then the return for Matt would have been a lot better, even with his contract. But the problem was once all this went down, the Falcons lost anything they had when Deshaun Watson said, no, you've made Matt Ryan upset. And at this point, the quarterback needy teams are just, at this point, who do you have? Matt Ryan, Baker Mayfield, I think at best, Jimmy Garoppolo potentially. But the Falcons, like you said, they had no bargaining power. So I also think there was a small part of it to be, at least on the Falcons front office, to be like, okay, we screwed this up. Let's let Matt go to where he wants to go. Matt was very adamant about saying that, at least in the press conference, I'll take it out, he says it was either Indianapolis or Atlanta. So I think the front office kind of gave him a courtesy, no matter what the return was, because the third rounder, for the greatest player in franchise history, it's pretty sad, especially when you go back last year and you looked at, they got a second round pick for Julio. Granted, that looked like highway robbery in hindsight, but you got a second round pick for guys like Mohamed Sanu in years past. So it's just kind of crazy that a quarterback of his caliber would only warrant a third round pick. But as you were saying, I think it was just a matter of the Falcons put all their chips in this Watson thing, and by the time it was over, they didn't really have any bargaining power after that, and they were kind of left with, the mercy of the market for Matt Ryan at that point, and I think that's where we are now.
Yeah. Was Deshaun innocent though? I heard that they just didn't have enough to pursue it.
So from my understanding, and again, there've been a bunch of crazy reports out there. I know there was one. Our friend Jake, who was on this, he's been on this podcast before, was the one who broke the story that the Falcons were getting him. And to be fair to Jake, I actually do trust the source that he had. I just think that the Browns came in with a last-second offer that was ridiculous because, it is ridiculous. It was a ridiculous offer that he got, $230 million guaranteed, 3 first-round picks. That's unprecedented to the kind of offer that he got. So I really am of the understanding that it was Atlanta that he had picked up until the last second. And I think that what the front office was looking for with that, yes, we would have given up a lot of, draft picks and capital for that, with the understanding that the Falcons would have been not as good this year. But there also was many reports out there from very valid sources saying that if Watson did sign in Atlanta, there were guys like Leonard Fournette, A.J. Green, Jarvis Landry ready to sign the dotted line to sign up to be a Falcon. So you have the effect of getting players of that caliber. You get the recruitment factor of guys who want to play with him. And also add in the fact of the cap space that the team is going to have next year, be able to add more free agents. I think that was the route they were trying to convince, I guess, the fans, if that move would have happened, to show that the future of the team still is bright, even without the draft picks and paying him all this money. All these other guys were willing to take pay cuts, sort of like the Tom Brady effect. You see all these guys who were taking these deals just to play with Tom Brady. I think you would have seen something similar with Deshaun Watson. Even now, Jarvis Landry's visiting with the Cleveland Browns again after he decided to leave. It just shows you what the difference a quarterback can make. So, who knows what would have happened if he signed? I myself, I'll just say from my own personal opinion, I'm glad that the Watson move wasn't made. But again, the optics of it was not good.
I'm gonna throw a hand grenade in here.
There's one thing I really want to ask. I really want to ask it. Why the hell is Deshaun Watson getting nearly $250 million and he's totally free to play, yet Calvin Ridley, just for betting on a couple of games, is getting suspended for a year? Why?
I have a theory. I have a theory behind it. Again, it's a theory, so and
it's not like he tried rigging anything. He bet on the Falcons to win.
Listen to his theory. Listen to his theory, Christian.
I don't talk to Roger Goodell on the daily, so I don't know what the reasoning is. But my theory behind it is I think what the NFL has going for it the most is the legitimacy of its product, right? Like, it's not the WWE, it's not scripted, it's not anything like that. I think the moment people figure out or get the assumption that what they're seeing isn't legit and it's scripted, then they lose viewership. I think they've shown in the past that they're not going to lose viewership if you give someone who maybe has done something as serious as assault, give them a second chance. And if they perform well, people forget about it very, very quickly. Look at Tyreek Hill, one of the most dynamic playmakers in the game. People hardly remember what happened to him. Same thing with Joe Mixon. I think that's what the NFL, again, personal theory, doubt that that's even what it is. But I think that what the NFL has going for it is the legitimacy of its brand and how it's by far and away the best sport in America right now, as far as ratings wise. I mean, every week it owns a day of the week. So the minute it loses that, it loses it at that spot.
I'm gonna throw a really, really, really controversial question. And you're not gonna like it, but it's just popped in my head. So I'm gonna ask you all it. Why is Jarvis Landry, Leonard Fournette, and AJ Green lining up the sign for the Falcons with Deshaun Watson at quarterback, but not Matt Ryan?
Because they're idiots. Sorry.
Deshaun
Okay, well,
better than Matt Ryan.
Sorry?
One guy's
Deshaun
20,
Watson's
one
better
guy's
than Matt Ryan.
27.
Like, well,
sorry, one at a time. Liam?
Deshaun Watson's better than Matt Ryan, isn't he? Like right now, obviously that is the case. Like I don't think many people would argue that. And obviously that's not even taking into account the next 5 years. That's just right now he's already better because he's a younger.
I'm just playing devil's advocate. I was just interested to hear the answers. Miles, what did you say?
Yeah, pretty much the same thing. I mean, just the fact that he's younger, and I think I'm the biggest Matt Ryan supporter out there, but I would go from a talent perspective. Deshaun Watson is definitely more talented, and Matt's on the latter end of his career. So I think Deshaun's more exciting. I mean, he's gone toe to toe with guys like Mahomes. So I guess it's just the commodity of young, whereas Matt's just a little bit old on the older side.
I have a good answer for this as well.
Please do enlighten me with it. Liam, right. if you can get ready for that alleged. But
let's create a new banner for this.
Me and you, Mark, are both fans of the NBA basketball. You support a pretty crap team in comparison to mine, but we won't get there. Yeah. But in basketball, super teams like with the Warriors, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond for those 3 years. In 2017-18, Durant took a pay cut just so they could re-sign Andre Iguodala and Sean Livingston, and he took a pay cut, let's say, to join the Warriors because he could have got the max from OKC. So when you've got the opportunity to play with other star players, or let's say from Watson's standpoint, on a talent perspective, he is a superstar. So you take a discount because you're going to get it back in the longer run because your numbers are going to improve by playing with a superstar.
So have we in turn just kind of in a roundabout way answered why Terry tried to take a gamble? I'm not saying it was a good gamble, by the way, but the purpose to balance.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, without the whole off field.
I know you don't like me saying that, but I'm playing devil's advocate here, boys.
I'd say allegations aside, I think it's a great move from a football standpoint. I think it's a warranted risk. Again, allegations aside, I think if you just take it from a football standpoint, it's a very fair and risk that I could get behind. It's the allegations part that sticks with me. But sorry to interrupt there.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. I just couldn't resist.
Called, say he was just available for a trade or for whatever, without the whole thing going on. If he just was available for whatever reason, because the Texans are stupid, like we know, something like that. And he was calling around, and he called the Falcons, and everything was fine with Matt Ryan, and he still played okay. And I think if the fans have found out that we have basically gone, no thanks, like Watson, we're not even interested in you because we're sticking with Matt Ryan or whatever, I think we'd have got a very different reaction. I think the fans would have.
I think that's a fair point, Liam.
You just wouldn't pass at him, would you? Like without the whole the wedge stuff, you would not pass at him. Like you take a punt and you pay him big money and you trade the picks or whatever it is that they want because you get in a franchise quarterback with a very, very high ceiling that he's already sort of heading towards. So, but the only issue I've seen with it is the off-field stuff. Nobody's ever said.
But that's why he's in that available position, all right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's exactly like where I'm coming from. Like, if we'd decided to move on and trade Matt Ryan this year and gone for somebody else, not sure who, given it no thought whatsoever, if there was somebody else out there, then I could have definitely got behind that. The thing that literally wound me up and angered me so much was who it was and the allegations surrounding that person. So it's not losing Matt Ryan, moving on from Matt Ryan that's wound me up so much. It's the who that has wound me up so much.
Yeah.
The who and the how.
I think we're all kind of in agreement about the Deshaun Watson situation. I mean, as you all know, I'm a bit of an optimist as I look forward to the next season. So, very excited to see Marcus Mariota. Listen, we've had group therapy on Matt Ryan. We're well over what I was kind of planning for. So what I want to quickly move on, we've got a couple of comments, one from Jack regarding draft. We're going to come on to that at the end, Jack, so hopefully shouldn't be too long. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly run through our free agent signings so far. I'll pick one and I'll throw that to Liam, to Nico, to Go Colts, to Rob, to Miles, and you can give me a quick opinion on that. Just one each, just so that we're not there for Miles's full car journey. So I'm going to start off with I'm going to throw this one to Nico. Lorenzo Carter. What's
Very good. Very good one, but I have heard if we cite him in May, we would not lose our 4th round conditional pick. So yeah, it's
a pretty low contract though, right?
What?
It's a pretty low contract that we've gotten for.
It is. And I guess he will be an improvement at this position for the team.
Oh yeah. I would certainly say so. I mean, you kind of hope he's a like 9 to 10 sack season kind of player anyway. And I know what you're saying about the fourth, about the conditional pick. But I guess you could draft somebody to get you those sacks and they're not experienced enough to do it. So, but that feels like a good one, right? That feels like a good piece on defense.
Again, please.
Nico, do you agree?
Yeah.
I don't really understand the question right now. Can you repeat?
I'm saying, do you think it's a good pickup?
Yes, in the end, it's a very good pickup for free agency. It's a very good one.
Okay, we'll give that one a tick. Right, Rob, Damian Williams.
Yeah, I think our running back room obviously needs some work. We know that. Williams is someone who's shown some promise in the past, maybe, not lived up to it. I don't think he could come in here and be a lead back for us or for anyone, really. But I think if he's going to come in and be part of a rotating backfield, then I'm sure that he can do a job for us. And I think it's a savvy pickup.
Cool. Okay. Positive so far. Miles, Casey Hayward.
I actually really do like that. That's probably been my favorite free agent pickup so far for the Falcons, because I mean, if AJ Terrell doesn't get traded, fingers crossed, he needed a solid number 2 guy. I actually do like bringing back Isaiah Oliver too. He played very well in Dean P's scheme, and I think having those 3 in the secondary is going to be big because Casey Hayward's a proven commodity. Hometown kid as well. He's also from Georgia, but high character guy. I think he's going to do very well for the Falcons. And again, much needed help in that secondary. I believe he's replacing. I don't think he's placing Harmon. Might be placing Fabian Moreau, if I'm not mistaken. Which would certainly be an upgrade at this point.
Yeah.
Awesome, good stuff. Christian, re-signing Cordarrelle.
Best aside from KC, best move of the off-season so far. After last year, he could have probably got a lot more, but he made it clear he wanted to stay, so that worked in the Falcons' favor. So re-signing him, especially with all this going on, was a big win, and it
He
calmed the
signed
fans down.
afterwards as well, didn't he?
Yeah, it calmed the fans just a little bit, not much, but a little bit. It's safe to say. And he's gonna be basically a quarterback, running back, wide receiver, left guard, safety next year.
Yeah,
He's gonna do pretty much everything. So
Maybe
great
even
pickup.
quarterback.
And we're gonna need him to be even better because aside from Kyle Pitts, this offense is seriously lacking in quality.
Yeah, agreed. And finally, I think this is the one that is a little bit more the old reliable, but Liam, Koo resigning, 5-year deal.
I mean, I suppose there's two different. I don't know. There's two different ways of looking at it. One, it's great because he's been good, and we've got at the end. The other one is he's a kicker. I'm not really that bothered. Guys, kick. He just kick. Obviously he's good. He's consistent, and he gets to the points. And I'd pick him over many other kickers, but I feel like you can just find a kicker. Like, if he
They're going to be kicking a lot of field goals this year.
Yeah, it wouldn't have brought my heart if he left. Put it that way. But at the end, I still like that we brought him back.
We might not even be in range.
I know. That's a good point.
Well, I don't share your negativity about that, Christian. So there you are. Good stuff. All right. What I would really quickly like, seeing as we've got that number 8 picks, which is pretty decently high draft capital. I'd like to know who you want to take with it. So I'm going to go anti-clockwise. Miles.
Yeah, so I have been very split on this. I've always, again, this all, I think for me, changed slightly with the whole Matt Ryan situation, because before the Matt Ryan situation, I was like, let's just go all in on the defense, make that better, because, it's never, get an edge rusher for crying out loud. I've seen Kayvon Thibodeau fall to the Falcons, and I've always been like, if he's there, absolutely get him. Because he's been the projected number 1 guy for forever now. So has that changed for me? I think it has, because as we've been saying, we've got nobody on offense right now outside of Kyle Pitts. Defense at least has a few. What's that?
Cordell Patterson.
Cordell Patterson and Chris Lindstrom. That's about it. But at this point, it's really tough, because I'm honestly of the opinion maybe trade back and acquire more capital, because it's a pretty deep class. It's not very top heavy, but I think there's a lot of very good starter worthy players in this draft. I'm also of the opinion maybe take a flyer on Malik Willis. He's been doing extremely well so far in the pre-draft process. He did very well on the Wonderlic, which is always a huge indicator for me, because a lot of these bad quarterbacks end up, bombing that. Also another guy, hometown kid, but I think someone who could also potentially benefit from sitting behind a guy like Marcus Mariota, someone he can maybe learn from for a little bit, and hey, maybe get a chance to play a few games here or there. But I think you could draft a guy like Malik Willis and load up maybe on offensive weapons at that point. Get your edge guy in the 2nd round, and then get your wide receiver in the 3rd round, or maybe get your wide receiver in the 2nd round. If you want to just go all in on the offense, do that, because you're going to have a high draft pick next year at this point. Unless they absolutely shock us this year, I can't imagine the Falcons finishing better than a bottom 5 team. Why not? Get your quarterback, surround him with offensive weapons, get the receiver. It's a very deep receiver class. And the Falcons desperately need one, because as of right now, Olamide Zaccheaus is a number 1, and on any other team, he is at best a number 3, probably a number 4. So you're gonna have to get some weapons for the guy. I'm split. I will say this: if Thibodeau is there, I take him, because it's hard to pass up on a talent like him. If some of those guys are gone, I wouldn't be opposed to taking Malik Willis.
Okay. Rob?
I don't particularly like the quarterback pick that early in this draft. It's not got me sold on that. completely agree. If Thibodeau is there, then he'd probably be my pick. I can't really see us going cornerback there with the free agency signing that we've made. I think with the classes and how deep it is on offense and defensive line, that I'd definitely be in the trade back camp, I think, right now, and try and get some more picks and just try and literally rebuild the trenches and other bits around it, and maybe look to build the rest of the team and make a long-term quarterback the last piece of the jigsaw that we put in there. Maybe very last piece might be a bit of a stretch because we might be waiting a few years, but maybe look at that next year when, like we say, we're going to be terrible this year, so we're going to have an early pick next year as well.
Listen, I think you're going to be shocked this season. I'm telling you now. Christian, draft. Who are you taking today?
Malik Willis, full stop.
Like it.
It's the closest thing we've seen to, similar to Lamar Jackson in terms of being naturally gifted runner. He's a pretty good passer by all accounts. So I'd definitely take him. And another thing we've got to consider, yes, the Falcons are going to be absolutely horseshit next year, but there's no guarantee the Falcons will actually be the worst team in the NFL because Jacksonville somehow always find a way to flop. Detroit are probably going to struggle again. Houston definitely aren't going to be good. So there's no guarantee the Falcons get the first or second pick to get Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. So while you've got the chance, you should take Malik Willis. He's probably the best quarterback in this draft. I'd say so anyway. So take him. And then, but what I would like to see, like Miles pointed out, we're very short on wide receivers, to take 2 wide receivers in this draft.
Okay. Liam and I are planning on doing. I think Jack likes what you just said, Christian. I think Liam and I are planning on doing a bit of a bigger draft show a bit close at the time, so that's good stuff. Nico, who are you taking today?
Right now that we have lost Ryan, our situation changed very unexpectedly. So before I would have taken Thibodeau, if I speak his name right, if he's there. Right now, the Falcons could not do a lot wrong with this draft. We have
we'll find a way.
Nearly every possession. We have needs at nearly every possession. But I really also like the idea now. If there's an option, if there's a good trade partner, trade back, take Willis, take some wide receivers, but really try to fix the edge rusher problem for the team as well in some kind of way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
So,
Miles said,
right
I think this is the draft. Although the QB class probably isn't as deep, I think there's definitely value to be had into that sort of like late first to second, maybe even early third. So I think you've got a good point. Liam, what about you?
I mean, there's a few different ways you could go. I'm probably going to go. Maybe I think I'm going to be slightly different than some others. I think because there's a lot of edge rushers that are expected to go into the top 10, even top 5. You could have 4 guys there. I think that's going to push some actually quite decent edge rushers down into the next round. So right. I think I'm going to take a punt. I'd probably take a receiver with 8.
Oh,
I think I'd go for like Chris Olave or something along those
right.
lines. Or Garrett Wilson, somebody of that real quality, because I think from what I've seen, I know obviously that you're not guaranteed this sort of thing. I know we've not got really the quarterback alongside it, but look at the impact players like Jamar Chase made, and then even Devontae Smith was brilliant, and obviously Waddle was great, and I know they all went high, and it just you realise how much of an impact a top quality receiver can actually do for you. Give Mariota an open target, and when you've got Pitts alongside that, you've got 2 potential game winners. And Mariota's he's not a world beater by any means, but he's got enough quality to find open guys. So I think we could do that. And then there's even the option for, I think there'll be a couple of potential decent punts on the quarterback position in the second round. I'm usually not the type of person to suggest that you take a quarterback sort of any lower than in the first round, because that's usually where you get your best guys. Not always, obviously, but I think there could be some decent ones. I think somebody mentioned Kenny Pickett, obviously in the chat, and then Desmond Ridder's another one that I'd probably look at as a potential second rounder if they're there. That could very well end up being a good quarterback.
Right.
A bit of a risk potentially when you use it a second round pick, but I think they've possibly got enough quality to be worth taking. And then obviously if you've got a receiver, you've got a year to see. I don't think either of those guys is probably good enough to start year one, but you sit behind Mariota, you learn the game a little bit and then give him a go second year. And then obviously alongside that, you'd have a second year receiver, which, I'm hoping one of those guys is elite. So doesn't address the edge, but I think potentially third round, depending on what we do like trade-wise, second round again, there are some edge rushers that I think could be very serviceable in those sort of early to middle rounds that we don't have to take one of the top guys to get something from it. But yeah, that's where I just really like going with this world beater offensive weapon that could be out there. And I think one of those guys at least is going to be a top class receiver.
A quarterback with the name Pickett sounds very alarming, especially when the last quarterback I saw in the NFL, Nathan Peterman, had a fetish for interceptions.
He did it. Yeah.
Well, when it comes to quarterbacks and fetishes, let's not talk too much about that anymore, yeah? Because we got dangerously close to addressing it earlier, didn't we? Hit that button for me, please, Liam, just in case. Right. I think that's been really, really interesting. And I'm gonna throw my hat on. The more and more I'm watching the stuff from the pro days, I'm getting more and more intrigued by Malik Willis. And after the past couple of days, I'm not massively convinced that we're going to be in one of the 5 worst teams next year. So in that case, you miss out on Bryce, you miss out on Stroud. Then okay, well, what's the point? You might as well get your guy now. I think you can probably throw a trade back in that as well. But that's where I'm at now. There's plenty of time for that to change, as it always does. But I think it's best that we leave that there. Otherwise, I think we could probably go on all night. So Nico, Christian, Rob, Miles, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you all on what's been a really, really crazy week. In the unlikely event that Matt Ryan or his family are watching, we love you very much. Thank you for everything you have done for us, that you've done for our franchise, that you've done for our adopted city. We will always love and absolutely adore you and your family for all of the laughs and smiles and good times that you've brought to us over our times as Falcons. So I'd have to say a massive, massive thank you. And on to the new era, whatever fun and shenanigans that may bring. But thanks, boys, for coming on. Thank you for being on mine and Liam's first show.
Get your mock drafts, because I think we're going to do some mock draft shows in the near future. So if anyone wants to present a mock to us, then start them now.
Don't use PFF. Christian Watson, who's probably going to go in the second round at the latest, is being mocked to go in the 5th round on PFF.
Let's not slate on live streams.
Christian's determined he can put us all out of business. Thanks very much for tuning in, guys. We shall catch you all soon, and speak to you later. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Well, thank you, everyone. Have a nice evening. Much love for Ryan for his signed jersey.